Hey, I'm strummerdood or Matt or whatever, I don't know. So Telltale released two new series the past month, Tales from the Borderlands and Game of Thrones. While I really dug Borderlands for subverting some of the inherent choice-based conventions, I felt really dissatisfied with Game of Thrones because of its failure to do anything with Telltale's stale storytelling formula. In Iron from Ice, players control three members of the fledgling House Forrester as they navigate the murky ramifications of a certain wedding. In typical Telltale fashion, action bounces between decision-heavy dialogues and quick-time event sequences. Each series generally features its own personal wrinkle in the system. The Walking Dead forces players to find a place between two social groups, The Wolf Among Us focuses on detective work, and Tales from the Borderlands places players on either side of a fragile alliance. Game of Thrones' wrinkle involves carefully navigating the highly political land of Westeros. Unfortunately, it's difficult to get into the fiction of the world when the story's unchanging beats brush off every decision made by the player. Now, this is a common complaint about Telltale, and I understand their choices deliberately focus more on the how rather than the what. But the opening image of each episode tells the importance of choice. It sets false pretense about the world, and if Telltale can't keep up the illusion of choice, players will naturally feel dismayed when the roost is up. Now, I don't think an illusion of choice is inherently a bad thing. Many writers certainly class themselves as talented liars, and such an opening can still work to create a compelling choice system. The film Fargo pretends to tell a true story to help bring a stark realism to the proceedings. I personally adore the second episode of The Walking Dead's first season because it kept up the facade from beginning to end. It felt like the game identified and criticized my propensity of sitting in the middle of arguments, which I totally do in real life. It made me sit back and scrutinize my choices, unlike the second season where I always felt right. But pulling off such a ploy clearly requires a ton of panache, something lacking in recent Telltale episodes outside of Borderlands. Speaking of Borderlands, it actually emulates Game of Thrones' writing style better than Iron from Ice. Whereas the various stories of Zero Sum feel connected through a central theme, Iron from Ice seems to only use the three main characters for utility purposes. They simply serve to set up the shocker at the end. But like the Walking Dead TV show, relying solely on shockers without substance will eventually wear thin. Iron from Ice feels like a substandard tale in a narrative-rich environment. Choices offer no subtlety, and the story told relies heavily on cursory shock value. Politicking is intriguing, but is currently betrayed by the stale storytelling formula. Often it feels like you're picking the wrong answer because they constantly correct your trajectory towards the major story beats. It's just too obvious your choices don't matter. But even in mediocre seasons, Telltale can often write a gem, so hopefully we get more than a few in the 6-episode season of Game of Thrones.